Hey guys, D1sco here, and today I'm reacting to the Dead by Daylight design preview for the Skull Merchant. I went pretty hard on the Trickster one that released yesterday, in case if you were wondering and want to watch it. I went hard on that because they unfortunately talked so early in development. They couldn't share anything. You know what I mean? There's no design preview for Trickster, essentially. It was a complete waste of time for them to post it and for me to have reacted to it, basically, is the conclusion I came to. This one, on the other hand, I'm much more intrigued by because one, Skull Merchant is in a horrible place right now. And as I've kind of mentioned to Orange, it's like it's hard. Her power is so weird because it's like drones and stuff, and it's like if you like she's in a very tough spot, and I understand why she needed a rework. Unfortunately, and I don't know the specifics behind this one, if this was like an actual Dead by Daylight like behavior decision or not, but it's become a bit of a meme that Orange likes to say, and I believe others as well, that the last time they touched her, they just decided to kill Skull Merchant so that way they could work on the rework. And this is apparently a preview to that. We are, from what I remember, we're getting this year, and I couldn't be more excited for this rework because this is a killer that while me and Orange we never like played her too much. The most Skull Merchant we've played was like early days of her back when she was the free Jenny Queen. Although we never used her that way, we used her a different way. But she's always had problems and she's always had issues and she's always been like talked very trash about. So I feel bad for Skull Merchant just because like they decided to do something cool with her and it's led to so many problems that they've had to work different parts of her multiple times to the point where they've had to rework her yet again. So before I keep rambling on, I'm really excited to look into this. There's so much more to talk about here than the Trickster one that I wish this would have been the first post. The Trickster one was pointless. They had nothing to say. This one, as you guys can maybe see, do you see all the words and stuff on here? Do you see this? This is the Skull Merchant one, and for those of you who didn't see it, this is the Trickster one. Look at how short that was because they didn't talk about him. The Skull Merchant one here is so much longer. Like, it makes me more excited to read it because it's longer. They actually talk about her. I'll actually able to talk about stuff. So without further ado, let's talk about Skull Merchant's future changes, or at least the early in development stuff they wanted to share. Today we want to dig into the topic that we know many of you have been yearning to know more about, our vision for the future of the Skull Merchant. Evaluating the Skull Merchant. We know the Skull Merchant is a divisive killer who, regardless of her performance in a trial, carries a lot of history and strong feelings among players. Yes. In some ways, Skull Merchant might be the most divisive killer for players in the entire game. There's plenty, like pretty much most of the killers, me and Orange would tell you, we don't really like playing against if we're playing Survivor because we just suck. We just suck. There's nothing against these killers or how they play or anything like that. We just suck. Her, on the other hand, is like she's like the main killer I can think of that people actively talk shit about. Playing her, even playing her, people talk shit. People, this is a killer that if you queue up as, people immediately DC once they realize who you're playing as. Like, that's how bad this killer is. A lot of other killers, that doesn't happen as much. But with her, people DC the fuck out of this. And in fact, I want to quickly tell a story that I like to tell when a video it's about Skull Merchant because it highlights this point. So during the first PTB where they mess with the bots, right? The AI, the bots where if the DC bot, so if someone DCs during a trial, the trial would continue because that survivor is just now a bot. And during that PTB, there was someone who posted a thing on the Dead by Daylight community, like thing here on Steam that I found, and they were asking like why everybody DC'd and they literally only got to play against bots. People started asking questions in the comments. Um, and they mentioned that they were a Skull Merchant player. Immediately, what happened was everyone started blaming them and talking shit about the killer, just saying like they mentioned that they supposedly don't do the toxic playstyles of Skull Merchant at that time because that was before her most recent change, right before this rework, and people were of course like just play someone like fun to go up against. Like people were actively telling this so apparently Skull Merchant main to play someone else because survivors actually enjoy it, and they like stood on their hill, which is fair, saying that no, I want to play a Skull Merchant. The part that annoyed me in Orange a little bit when I told him the story was this guy died on the hill of him wanting to play against real people, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the bots give you free progress, and you gotta remember that if you're playing this killer, who is again probably the most divisive killer in the game right now, that just has to be something you need to expect and you need to figure out. But when you think about it, this killer has potential to actually be fun for both sides. It's just so far they haven't found it. And I'm praying that they do, so that way this guy can be happy and actually fucking play the game, apparently. But also, that way us Survivor players, because I play Survivor way more than Killer, we can actually have a fucking chance when we're fucking dog shit like myself who's fucking dog shit. I'll admit it. I'm fucking dog shit. So, many players feel she's not fun to play against, and her kit is exceedingly complex. Yes, her kit is very complex. The drones don't make a whole lot of sense. They do to an extent, but they're weird. It's weird. The power in some ways is kind of pointless. And she's definitely not fun to play against, especially when she was the free genning queen. Just put a drone up, you know literally when anyone's touching the last free gens, you can go over, chase them off. The trial goes on forever until eventually someone has to break the stalemate, like it's World War One apparently, which doesn't bode well. So for anybody, especially Survivor players. So it's frustrating. She was in a very tough spot then, and she still is even after her last number of changes. This scares away potential killers from trying her and makes it difficult for survivors to consider counterplay without dedicated research. I'm only laughing because no other killer in the game right now is like this. If you're a potential killer main, just pick someone else. Like, I mean, there's Michael, you're right. There's Trickster. There's Freddy, who's actually good now. There's Trapper, who I kind of like playing Trapper. Trapper sucks against good survivors, but I kind of like playing Trapper. Even after I've had people talk shit about me and my playstyle, I kind of like playing Trapper. But that's besides the point. Like, the fact that she's so divisive that she's actively scaring away players from even trying her, or if you play against her, you have to like research this like you're trying to do a college paper. It's terrifying. That is scary. Scary. So thankfully, it sounds like they're going to try to look for a way to mitigate those problems. So let's see what they got for us. I'm not going to bash them too hard yet. I am interested in wanting to learn. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until I read it. I'm trying to be as fair, as objective as I can, and something that helps me, in my opinion, compared to good players like Odstarva or, the people who all of you are primarily watching for this, because let's face it here, no one's going to click on this video anyways, except for maybe Orange. So Orange, if you're here, hello, hi, good to see you. I'm happy you're here, and you and me are going to learn about Skull Merchants changes together. You probably already seen some changes, but you're going to learn from this moron right here. So let's see what we got here. I really hope you watch this video. I am texting you at some point and basically gonna beg you to watch this video, Orange, because of this gag. So please watch this. As we look to reworking Skull Merchant, our aim is to, number one, strike a balance between being fun to play as and against, and that is what killers come down to, in my opinion. I love playing Freddy. I played Freddy before its rework, and while I didn't do particularly well against the bots during, when I played him during the rework, I really liked Freddy. I really want Freddy to be at the 2v8, so that way Orange can be there and playing as, a killer he's good at. I can play Freddy, my main, and we can finally just both be our mains and try to do 2v8. I love his changes. I love everything about him. He's very fun to play as, and I feel like Freddy, as current Freddy, is fun to play against because his kit has more variety and it's just set up very well. Let's look at another killer, Trapper, who I like playing as. Trapper is fun to play as because you can set up traps, you can kind of plan a little bit. If you notice survivors trying to do a specific gen or something, you can try to play around that. There's stuff like that. Trapper, to some extent, I'll admit, to some extent, is kind of boring to play against because he's just kind of a basic character. But I feel like he's definitely fun to play against too because those bear traps keep you on edge to an extent. Those bear traps, especially if it's a good Trapper player, they might unexpectedly get you quite a bit. You know what I mean? Let's look at Wraith, right? A killer that me and Orange absolutely love. Wraith, he's fun to play as. You can cloak yourself by hitting the by bing bonging the bell. You're faster. You can catch up to people quicker. He's fun to play against because you never know when he'll appear. He'll just start ringing the bell next to you, and it's like, oh crap, I got a Wraith on me. Like, every killer in the game, besides this one, to some extent, in my opinion, is fun to play as and against. It's just certain killers aren't picked as much as other ones, which is fair. But that is the thing you gotta strive for with killers. If they're not fun to play against, then people are gonna DC and gonna be very whiny little whiny babies. And if they're not fun to play as, then no one's gonna play that killer because even if they're fun to play against, they're not fun to play as because they suck. So, very tricky balance there. Number two, preserve the intel focus of her kit. That's also, I definitely understand that, but that could be tricky, and I would understand if it is, while making it intuitive to understand for both sides. And see, that's important because her kit right now is very confusing depending on how with the drones and whatnot. I feel like that's important, but you don't want to make it too simple and not explain certain stuff, but you also can't make it too complex. So there's definitely issues there. I definitely feel like that's a lesser thing in terms of overall gameplay than that first point, but the second point is still important, especially for newer players who might be interested in playing the killer with the drones. You know what I mean? So definitely important there. Number three, move away from a passive power with limited player interactions and embrace a more active playstyle. This one is that point alone. There's more to the sentence. We'll get there, but that point alone is a huge reason why is a huge problem she's facing right now. Move away from a passive power, right? Passive power. What does that necessarily mean? The drones are a passive power, right? You place them passively in certain spots and they can tear yourself, sort of like a bear trap, but the bear trap isn't exactly fully passive because it's just sitting there as like a passive power, but it's also active because if you mess up and you accidentally trigger that, now you're caught, right? Like there's a balance there with the killers that place something. There's definitely a passive aspect to all of them, but they're very active at the same time. Hers is more so passive. The drones are always passive. It's all about giving the player playing as Skull Merchant like info, and to some extent screwing over survivors, but it's not very active. It's very passive, and they tried to make her more active. Was her last was one of her last changes before the one that I'm reading about, and it's helped, and it definitely helped her, but it didn't help her enough. So she's still not that great, but it really helped her at the same time. And embrace a more active playstyle, right? Be active killers are kind of those killers that people really enjoy. You can have somewhat of a passive power, but if the killer themselves, but if the playstyle is very active, people usually have fun with that, right? Like Michael, like yeah, Michael can be annoying to play against, but he's fun because he's got an active playstyle. His power is very active, and he's just it's just fun to play as and goof off with him sometimes. And I've done what my first ever free K was with Michael. I have a lot of respect for this killer, for that killer. I've gotten, I think, a couple of 4Ks with him. I have a lot of respect for him. Freddy. Not every game of mine is good as Freddy. Heck, not every game of Orange as his boy Rave, his main, alongside a few other killers, don't always go well. But he keeps playing them because he loves playing as them, and they're his mains. Those are the killers he likes playing, and that's Freddy for me. I've gotten so many 4Ks with Freddy, I've gotten so many kills in general with Freddy that I can't see him as anything else. Even though they changed his power quite a bit, I still love him, and I think the changes are great. They made his power more active, and he's kind of funner to play as because of that. She's in a tough spot, though. The second sentence of Point Free, though, is while ensuring her power is compensated in interesting ways, and that's a good thing to strive for as well. You don't want the drones, if they decide to keep going with the drones and whatnot, you don't want the drones to be too whatever. You don't want the drones to be too passive. You want the drones to have more effects they can do. You want the drones to do more, to help her out more, to have a more active role. So that's interesting to hit. Those last 2 points may be particularly difficult to hear for a long time Skull Merchant mains, but we feel it's important to be clear about our intentions here. While the future we envision for Skull Merchant is quite different from her previous iterations, we feel this rework brings some exciting new tools of torment to the table. I'm so happy they included the chapter name in that. That's fun. But yeah, I'm sad about this killer because I like her. You know what I mean? She's fun. She's cool. She's interesting to an extent, but she's also very hard to understand, very hard to comprehend, very just difficult in a lot of ways. So I'm excited to see what they do, and I understand why they were saying like long-term players might be upset about those, but I feel like it's needed at this point with how this card's being treated. I'm so happy that it's a drawing. Drones 2.0. I'm intrigued already because right now her drones are all the same. They do the same stuff. Drones 2.0 can mean a lot of things, right? That implies, unless if you're Hasbro with the Nerf Elite 2.0 line, which if you don't know was actually worse than the original, usually 2.0s are a good thing. They usually take the original and tweak it, right? They tweak it, they update it, they try to make it work better. So let's see what we got for drones 2.0. Skull Merchant can deploy a stealth drone. She carries a total of 5, which scans its immediate vicinity and provides intel back to her. That sounds a lot like her current drones, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's quite a bit more, so let's see what else I have to say. But so far, the stealth drone here sounds like her current drone, and there's nothing wrong with her keeping those because they can be useful for sure. After a short activation period, the drone gives off subtle audio and visual indications of the area being scanned. And I believe that's how her current drones work as well. They like having that just to be, clear, and that's good. Revealing any survivors on the radar who are caught by its 2 rotating detection zones, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's a stealth drone, it's meant for intel, and that sounds fairly good at that, right? Fairly simple at it. It sounds fine. so far when I'm just reading it and somewhat looking at the picture. The picture is very clear, the picture is very concise, very helpful picture, very useful. Really happy there's a picture, because if this was just words, I would be losing my mind. But there's a picture, and I appreciate the picture, and it looks hand drawn, which I appreciate for sure. What else we got here? Importantly, we've slowed their rotation speed slightly and toned down the visual intensity of these zones, removing the large scan lines to replace them with something more subtle. Namely, you'll see the direction of each detection zone as they rotate, but the detection zone itself is invisible. This gives survivors an impression of the space that's being actively scanned, but requires them to proceed cautiously. And I think that's a good way to do a 2.0 change with your drones. If you do it that way, um, a newer player and what, like, you know what I mean, like, you'll have to learn kind of her radius and whatnot of like the scans to really know what to do there, right? Because if you don't learn that radius, you might actually get too close too far because you can't see the line anymore. I think removing that line is a good idea. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's going to work. Maybe Orange can let me know in the comment section below his thoughts, because let's be honest here, he's probably the only one watching this video. Yes, I'm bringing that joke back, and you'll probably hear me say quite a bit more because I'm kind of invested in this bit now. But if you're not Orange and you're here, please comment too. I really want to see you guys, because we get so few people that watch our videos right now. I'd love to see you. Come say hi. Come subscribe. We'd love to have you here. But that sounds good on paper. So the picture here, because this shows it better than I could ever explain it, shows the top view of the drones, right? So as you can see, this is the top of the drone, and that's where so not visible, right? So these scan lines here are not visible. What is visible are these very small sections, just letting you know where they are in rotation. The side view here is very simple as well. This is if you're looking at the drone from the side, not at the top. As you can see, it's got the little scan lines, just like the top view here, and it's a much smaller visual than what's currently in the game, because that was important to them. That's something that they were very much actively wanting, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. I completely understand why they would want to do something like that, and I think it'll work out if they do it correctly, for sure. There's still potential. Oh, there's a little drawing and a visual. That's like a GIF. That'll be fun to get to for that visual. Well, we know they had their supporters, which is fair. We're not saying you guys can't like supporting them, can't like them. There's a valid reason to, for sure. The original scan lines were visually loud, that's definitely true, and often clash with the rest of the game's look and feel. The intent here is to strike a balance between giving survivors just enough info to assess the threat, a subtle rotating field of detection, without that threat overwhelming the space and feeling incognious to Dead by Daylight's visual identity. And that's fair too. Another thing here that's going to be tricky for them is, what do we do about her being, right, her free Jenny Queen name? If they decide to change the drones in a way that will bring that play style back, now you have a free Jenny Queen that is arguably more terrifying, because now you can't, because now the visuals, right, indication of those scan lines and stuff is completely invisible and gone. It's just you have that more subtle information than before. So there's definitely, that's kind of what's tricky about this particular killer. There's a lot to go over. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of things that have already gone wrong, and they've tried so many times to fix it, and it's still broken. So here we are. Drone control. I'm already intrigued. Let's see what drone control is. Once a stealth drone has been active for a short period, Skull Merchant can choose to take control of drones from a distance. My first thought is something like Twins playing as Victor, where you're now where the original person is just standing there, but now you're taking control of something else. During this time, she becomes undetectable as her controlled drone becomes the primary threat. These stealth drones move slightly faster than her base movement speed. That's interesting. And consume a new resource, power, unique to each drone while being controlled. That's interesting. That sounds like they're trying to make her power more active, but they don't want it to be too powerful. So now if you're using this, you have a power meter. You'll have some sort of visual telling you, hey, this is how much power this particular drone has. Like, are you sure you want to use this particular drone because it has because it has so much power? That's interesting. The idea there is very interesting because it's very different than how she's ever worked so far. You've never been able to take control of the drones. They always just sat there and scanned stuff. They never actively, like, you could never actually actively use them. But sort of like Freddy's snares, where you just place it and that's the end of that. But now you can take control of it, apparently. Power is consumed slowly as the control drone idles, and slightly more is consumed while moving. Skull Merchant is also able to use a burst of this power to activate drone propulsion. This charged power sends the drone flying forward at a high speed relative to how long it was charged. I mean, that's a cool tool. And here's a visual of drone control, baby. So as you can see, it's a drone moving and it's hitting a person, right? It's moving and it's hitting a person. Put simply, stealth drone go brr because stealth drone go brr now. Beautiful. Drone hacking even got changed. That'll be interesting to see as well. I can't believe I've been 26 minutes here worrying about this, but I'm still intrigued. Let's go. Hitting a survivor's drone propulsion causes them to lose a health state. And see, that makes sense to me because you're hitting them with a drone that has like a skull attached to it, and the drone is metal, so it makes sense that you would take a health state because that would hurt. Especially if you're doing the like stupid fast mode. Like, let's be honest here, that would hurt. If you hit a survivor or collide with an object during this action, the drone will be destroyed and return control to Skull Merchant. Interesting. So hitting something makes you lose control of the drone. Um, I think that might be somewhat similarly to Victor, to some extent. That's interesting though. Obviously, you need to go back to Skull Merchant at some point because she's the primary killer. You can't just be a drone the whole game. You know what I mean? With these new stealth drones, we want to give players something that feels familiar, using drones to gather intel, but also opens the door for unique skill expression opportunities, repositioning drones and repelling and propulsion skill shots, using technology to hunt or prey is core to Skull Merchant's identity, and so it's important that we stay true to that. And I think I just want to say this. On paper, right, there's a difference between on paper and in practice. On paper, something might sound amazing, right? Something might sound good. In practice, that could be terrible. And that's something that's very hard to gauge here when you're reading these because you only have, well, so much info, so much information to go off of, and so on and so forth. So it can be tricky. But on paper, this sounds really cool, at least. This sounds awesome, at least. This makes your power more active, and it sounds very fun to play as and against, which is a huge thing with killers. We have opted to remove many of the background effects: hindered, haste, lock-on, claw trap. Oh, they're getting rid of claw traps. That's interesting. That's probably tied to these drones, though. Rather than doing a little bit of everything with your drones under layers of complexity, we want their use cases to be clear to killers and survivors alike. On the fly, basically, if they're static, they're likely scanning for survivors. If they're moving, they're a collision hazard, and don't touch it because you will. What's else? Drone hacking. And there's still a lot to go over, but as I mentioned in the Trickster video, there was literally nothing to talk about, so what's the point of them, like, making that a thing? You know what I mean? Because there wasn't. But this is interesting because I get to actually read stuff. And that's fun, right? To read, kind of see what's going on here with the killer, give my thoughts about it, and that's always fun. Drone hacking. Like drones themselves, drone hacking returns with a greater degree of risk and reward. Like before, drones could be disabled by survivors by putting a series of button presses while close. And I messed that up a lot because I'm not used to it like a dum-dum. If a drone is disabled, Skill Merchant's aura is revealed to that survivor, providing useful intel. If the hack is failed, they are revealed by Killer Instinct and are prevented from attempting another hack for a short period. The intention here is to introduce a greater degree of tension to hacking, while offering a clear way for survivors to interact with Skill Merchant's kit in a meaningful way. The intel reward is greater than before, but the risk of being revealed is more impactful. With intel at the center of this tension on both sides, we hope to make this interaction easily digestible by players. See, and that's fair as well. You don't want the hacking to be too complicated for how little reward, is given. But it sounds like they're trying really hard to make it so that way both the killer, if you fail, they get like an incentive, and that's the risk you're taking by when you hack it. Also, the fact that you can hack it for a short period, but the reward of pulling it off successfully is that you get now you get the killer's whereabouts, right? You get info on where she is, and you can use that info to better try to protect yourself, better try to prepare, better try to plan around that. Always good. Red light, green light. I'm assuming this is related to drone hacking. I could be wrong. We're nearing the end, though. Unfortunately, I'm kind of sad because I've been enjoying this. In addition to her drone, Skill Merchant has another power that ties into her radar. Well, the name is currently TBD. Let's refer to it as a global detection power. And the way the radar works now, it's all about those claw traps that would be placed by drones. But since you won't have the claw traps anymore, they're gonna have to somewhat change this, and I'm excited to see what they do with this new iteration of the radar. Once this power is charged and activated, a global warning plays for all survivors for a short period afterwards. Any survivor who actively sprints is revealed on our radar. Of course, crouching, standing still, and hiding in lockers all prevent detection. That's fair. Added to the intel provided by stealth drones around the map, this should help ensure killers are easily able to keep tabs on survivors' movements. See, and that's a fair idea to go for. Will it work or not? No idea. It's not even available yet anyway, so I don't know. But if it is, that'd be pretty cool and interesting for sure. In line with our rationale above, we want survivors to have a clear understanding of what's happening when they face Skill Merchant, where the overlapping timers and status effects of Skill Merchant's previous kit often obscured what the expected result of an encounter might be. Structuring this power around a well-known game, red light, green light, provides a clear and readable threat, a clear benefit for the killer, and a clear path for the survivors to try to overcome it. I'm totally see being orange, just being like red. If we ever see one after this change, assuming she comes out pretty good after this, she's going red light, and then we know not to move stuff. Green light, power's over. We can go like what we're doing. That'll be fun. Tentative release. We're currently evaluating a timeline for Skill Merchant's rework, but do envision it being quite far out, as our primary focus is on driving quality of life updates, right? And that pushed every chapter back, right? That pushed our boy the Tokyo Ghoul chapter that's coming soon. That pushed that back. That pushed the anniversary event and its chapter, I would imagine, somewhat back because of the quality of life changes, and of course the chapters later this year and whatnot, because they really wanted to appease the fans that apparently for years have been asking for them to literally just sit down and try to air out some bugs, try to end some of the really annoying toxic play styles, which difficult. Some of the stuff on the way has me excited for sure to see more of in the future. I really hope some of that stuff turns out to be good because there's a lot of potential coming, that'll help out here. So, I mean, it's like there's a lot of exciting stuff with this game right now. There's a lot of good changes, at least on paper, that are coming. There's a lot of stuff in general that's happening that has me, at least, very excited. And I can't wait. I'm being honest, I can't wait. I'm so very, very excited. So, take all the time you need, behavior. I'm here for it. I'm excited for her, and I'm. What else we got here? The primary focus is on driving quality of life updates. Once we have a timeline to share, we will be sure to keep you informed via future design preview updates. Phew, that was a lot. How do you feel about this rework? We want to hear from you. Jump to our survey and share your thoughts right here. See you in the flag. I'm gonna go ahead and take the survey in this video because I'm already recording. Why not? And I'm intrigued. So, assuming it'll actually... Okay, it's opening right now. Was not expecting it to open up in Opera for some reason, but you know what? That's fair. I accidentally opened it multiple times. Whoops. We can just... There we go. That's fine. I just want to... Okay, here we go. I'll even with the camera, since this is positioned differently than the thing was, to give you guys, but I know it's probably sort of. Thank you for taking time to give your feedback on the School Merchant Design Preview. It should take approximately 5 minutes to complete. With these design previews, our goal is to give you a look at possible gameplay changes early in the design process, while also opening the door for you to easily share your feedback on changes. Thank you for helping us continue to improve the game. By clicking next, you'll notice that the information answers provided for this survey will not be shared with any third party. It will not be used for other purposes than survey analysis in compliance with behaviors privacy policy, the D1sco team. Next. How satisfied or dissatisfied are you with these changes to the School Merchant? See, this is an interesting question because we don't know yet, right? We don't know how she plays yet. And I'm going to be honest here. I'm not in the dissatisfied category right now. Based off what I read, the way that I interpreted it, the way that I understood things, I'm actually personally excited. I'm not saying she'll be good, but I'm excited. I'm really excited. This is like I don't know if I've ever been this excited for Skull Merchant before in my life. I would say this is at least right up there with her actual release because I was excited for her release for sure. But then because I was intrigued by the drones from what I remember and whatnot, and then she just started being bad and I just stopped caring. Plus her not fun plus the fact that she wasn't fun to play against and whatnot. But yeah. So NA did not play it enough to say. Very satisfied. I'm gonna be honest here. I am very satisfied with these changes. They sound awesome. They sound amazing. I'm really excited. Which role do you play the most? Killer only on my games of killers. So I'm gonna... In the past 6 months, what percentage of your games as killer have you played as scoring? Literally 0. Me and Orange do not touch her, so that'll be a 0. This one, I'm gonna keep it somewhat in the middle here, but it's not both roles equally for me personally, because I play Survivor a lot more than Killer. But I will put it right here. I'm gonna put it in between both roles equally, and the Survivor one, or at least close to halfway. Or more like that. It's hard to tell. I mean, the line's useful, but I'm gonna say like that because I do play killer sometimes, but I definitely lean more towards survivor right now. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the following? As killer, these changes will make the skill merchant more enjoyable to play as. In my opinion, I agree. I don't strongly agree, but I agree. The red light, green light thing sounds interesting because if the survivor isn't red lighting, you get that info. The fact that you can move the drone around and actually be able to actively use drones and like run them into people, just fly into someone. That sounds really fun and enjoyable to play as, right? And of course, you still get your info and whatnot as well. As Survivor, these changes will make the skill merchant more enjoyable to play against. Well, let's think about this, right? As Survivor, you now have to deal with a drone that's going to be actively moving, a drone that will be stationary, but while you don't get as much visual information on like where they're scanning, you do get a small indication and whatnot. And then of course there's the red light, green light situation. So it'll definitely keep survivors on their toes, right? And that's kind of what killers are supposed to do, right? Keep the survivors on the toe, keep them guessing, and just make surviving right more challenging than try to make surviving challenging for them. In addition to the fact that they're doing an objective, and I think she with these changes, if the changes end up being good, like I'm praying that they are, I think she'll come out sort of like that, where she'll be very enjoyable to play as and against, at least far better than she is right now. She's not fun to play against at all. I know some people do enjoy playing current her, like playing as current her, and that's fine. But and that's fine for sure. No, nothing wrong with that. But it's not fun to play against for most people. So I'm actually gonna say I agree with that as well. As Survivor, these changes will make a match against the skill merchant more enjoyable. So now we got this table. Drone scanning while in stealth state. I think I agree with that one, that it will make a match against Skill Merchant more enjoyable because, it's a breath of fresh air for that. And also, they made it trickier, a little bit more challenging to deal with. Using the drones in attack, drone propulsion, definitely agree with that one. I love the sound of it as someone who somewhat plays both sides, right? As Survivor, I think it'll be really cool to see the drone moving, see how it moves, see what it looks like to get hit by one, try to avoid it and whatnot. But as killer, it's gonna be fun to just fly the drone around, look around, run into somebody with it, just casually smack somebody in the face with your drone. I really hope this. And again, the red light, green light situation as well. Controlling the drone. Controlling the drone is interesting because I feel like Skull Merchant does that more so than anybody. But yeah, I'm gonna agree with that one too, for sure. Maybe slightly agree on that one. Not as strongly as the other two, but I still would definitely say I'm in the drone in the game. They're drone hacking. Well, it sounds like drone hacking is gonna have a higher risk, higher reward, but it also sounds like it'll still be pretty simple. So I'm gonna agree with that one. We're agreeing with drone hacking for sure. Drone power economy. I feel like that's going to be more so a killer thing to worry about and deal with rather than survival. So I'll slightly agree with that one. Next is global detection power, right? Red light, green light. I'm going to say agree because red light, green light is kind of fun to an extent. And which platforms do you play Do I Do It on? I play it currently on a PC, sometimes PS4 and PS5. Very rarely though, the PS5. Because I order games for it. I want a Steam Deck, but God, that's expensive. The potential for Survivor counterplay. I think there's counterplay there. I really do. I think there's counterplay there. How would you describe your experience level with Dead by Daylight? I wouldn't say I'm a beginner anymore because I've been playing for a few years. Would I call myself a veteran? I'm going to say no because a veteran to me is someone more like Starva, Scott John's utter... yeah, I'll count him. Other YouTubers that have been playing the game for a while, and they actually understand the game, right? These are players that a veteran player to me is someone that is so used to playing the game and so and whatnot, that they are actively like, they kind of know, okay, it's this killer. I kind of have a game plan for my counterplay. I just need to figure out like exactly what the player's individual play style is like, and then work my counterplay around that, right? Um, I wouldn't say I'm a beginner anymore though, because the beginner players, and I'm not trying to be mean to them, but beginner players, right? They struggle a little bit, right? They don't understand what's happening for the most part. I mean, they do to an extent. Like let's get, let's be honest here. They do to an extent. They're the ones who like don't always run perks. I feel like the most, unless if you're doing it for like a funny build or haha build or something. They're the players that are definitely the weirdest, right? Those are the players that like just get the steamrolled by even a killer player like me, who's not great at killer, and they're just weird, right? These are players that are very strange, very weird to more experienced players because they don't understand what they're like, what's happening yet fully. I hesitate to call myself an X. I'm gonna say I'm an intermediate player. I don't play the game often. I play quite a bit. I have some experience, but I'm definitely not a veteran or an experience or an expert yet, because I have plenty of areas where I lack, and I just personally don't think I'm there yet. I personally think intermediate is a good place for. I'd be curious to know where Orange put himself though. Maybe he'll comment down in the comment section below. I mean, he's probably watching the video. The country I currently reside in is, I feel like it's pretty obvious. I don't see it, which is concerning. There's a lot on it. I found it. There was a lot, and done. Alright, well. Where do you stand on current events? What? We're not taking this one, I can tell you that much. We're not taking that quiz. So we'll just go ahead and... There's just... Okay, we're just gonna close Opera. Because I don't need Opera open anymore. What is this telling me? Oh, hey, Call of Black Ops 6 is on sale. Okay. And yeah, now that we've taken the survey, I've reacted to all this. Overall, I'm really excited. I think she sounds a lot better in terms of funness. She definitely sounds a lot more active, but definitely funner to play against, for sure. And it makes me actually excited to see for this change to be added to the game. I'm really excited to see it and whatnot. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, ring the bell, do all the aggravated garbage. It helps us out a lot and it means a lot to us. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.